everyone, welcome back to another episode of Tattered Stitch Embroideries. This week we have a really cute, fun, new little Happy Easter towel topper for you. It is done in 2 hoopings and we're going to get started on the project. We hope you enjoy. So we're going to start with the strap of this project, and I already have my stabilizer hooped. I'm using a tearaway, but if you wanted to, you could use 2 layers of wash and go. Just make sure that the hooping is really nice and tight. So I'm going to go ahead and start with my placement stitch. Alright, now that my placement stitch is down, I have 2 panels of fabric, one for the front, one for the back. And the strap is really super easy to put together. I'm just going to tape my fabric down into place using my blue painter's tape. I'm going to do the top of the strap first. I'm going to flip my hoop over and I'm going to determine what is the good side of my fabric. It looks like this side. Nice side face out. And I'm just going to tape this into place as well. You want to make sure that you secure the back panel portion a little bit better than the top, because you don't want this fabric to shift when you put the hoop back into your machine. So I'm just going to tape it down really good and tight. And now I'm just going to put it back into my machine and I'm going to run my tack down stitch. Okay, so we are done with our tack down stitch. At this point, there is a step to go ahead and put a buttonhole right in this area. I'm going to skip that because I actually want to use cam snaps. So since I'm skipping that point, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to lift up all my tape and I'm going to trim around my fabric to remove all the excess material. And I'm going to do that to both sides. And then once I'm done trimming, we'll put it back in the hoop and we'll run our satin stitch. But again, there is a step in here to go ahead and embroider out a buttonhole, but we're going to skip that step for this process. So I'm trimming the back side first, trying to get really, really close to those zigzag stitches. Now I'm going to do the top portion. And if you choose to do the buttonhole is large enough to accommodate a 5/8 of an inch button. Okay, so now we're just going to do that final satin stitch for this strap. Okay, so our strap is complete. I'm going to wait until the end of the whole project to go ahead and put my cam snaps on, because I want to make sure that I have my placement correct and spacing and everything correct. So now that we're done with the satin stitching and this piece is finished, I'm just going to pull it out of the hoop and I'm going to tear away my stabilizer, and then with my little embroidery scissors I'm just going to trim away any little fibers that show through, because sometimes that happens. Alright. So there we go, we have a pretty little strap. So now we're going to work on the main piece of our towel topper, and I'm going to go ahead and start with the placement stitch. Okay, so I have placed a layer of batting, and then I've got my fabric, and I'm just going to tape it up. And next we're going to run our tack down stitch. Alright, my tack down is complete, so I'm going to remove my tape and I'm going to trim away all the excess fabric. Alright, now for the fun part, we get to actually embroider out the main design of the pattern. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to embroider out the decorative border. Okay, now that we've gone ahead and we've embroidered out the detailing stitch around the edge here, I'm just going to flip my hoop over and I'm going to lay my fabric down. I'm going to tape it up really well so that when I put it back into the arm of the machine, it does not move around on me. I've had that happen a lot when I don't tape it down properly. So just going to tape it really well. And I'm going to run a tack down for the back panel. Okay, we're done with our tack down, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to trim away the excess material on the back of this hoop. Okay, now that we're done with the back panel, we're going to go ahead and we're going to stitch out a slot right here, and that's going to allow us to run the strap through at a later point. Okay, so now that the slot has been embroidered, the machine stopped and we're going to stitch out placement stitching for our elastic, which is going to go right here and right there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run my placement stitching. Okay, so you can see the placement stitching right here and right here on the back side of the hoop. So I've already cut my piece of elastic. It overlaps just a little bit on each side. I'm going to tape it into place using my blue painter's tape. And then we're going to run our tack down. Okay, with the tack down complete, I'm just trimming away excess elastic. And then we're going to run our final satin stitch. Alright, so now that our satin stitch is finalized, I'm going to trim up any loose little threads after I tear away my stabilizer. There's a couple little threads here and there, and I'll go through and I'll clean all this up later. I also need to pull out I need my seam ripper right here so that I can cut my slot. Just very carefully just poke that in. And there we go, there's one side. Alright. And I have gone ahead and I've added snaps to my strap. And you're just going to take and you're going to thread it through the slot. And project complete. So that concludes another episode with Tattered Stitch Embroideries. We really hope that you enjoyed this project.